3,064 days ago, the United States of America lost 2-1 to Belgium in the round of 16 of the World Cup in Brazil. 1,867 days ago, the U.S. lost 2-1 to Trinidad and Tobago in Cuba, eliminating them from qualification for the 2018 World Cup. Now, tomorrow, 1 day away, the United States will face Wales in the opening game of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Huge game. Let's jump right into it. The World Cup is finally here. 8.5 years of waiting is coming to an end tomorrow for the U.S. men's national team. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter while it's still there, as well as TikTok, to keep updated more frequently as we go through this World Cup. But today, we're going to be previewing the game against Wales. Let's talk about it quite some bit now. So in the opening game, as I just mentioned, the United States will be facing Wales. It's the first game of 3 in a group with England and the Islamic Republic of Iran. So, what do the U.S. need to do to get out of the group? Well, it depends on the other results, but for the most part, 5 points should be enough. 6 points basically guarantees it. 7 points officially guarantees succession to the next round. But why is this game so important? A lot of people are talking about Wales as the decider in the group. The U.S. and Wales being the second and third best teams behind England, thus makes this the most important game to determine who will go through. I disagree with that logic. I think that this is the game we have to win. I think Iran are a better team than Wales, and that makes this game more important in some ways. It makes it a must-win, because if the U.S. do not beat Wales, not only are we not going to go through, we really don't deserve to go through, because the U.S. are a better team than Wales. Don't sleep on Wales, they're still a good team, but the U.S. should be beating them. The U.S. have better players almost across the board, and yeah, there are really no excuses for not getting 3 points in this game. 1 point would be alright, but it would be disappointing. It would be a big missed opportunity. It would mean the U.S. would have to get 3 points in one of the 2 games after, which are the more tricky games. Wales are playing in their first World Cup since 1958. So even though a lot of these players in this team, well, every player in this team is playing in their first World Cup, they still do have a lot of experience at the highest level. It's a very experienced team. They have a lot of guys you've definitely heard of, like Gareth Bale, MLS Cup champion with LAFC, but, you know, a very accomplished player with 4 Champions League titles, I believe. 5, technically, if you count this season where he didn't play, his past season. Aaron Ramsey, who's won a couple FA Cups with Arsenal. Now he's playing over for Nice in Ligue 1. But they've also got some other guys like Kiefer Moore, who's the starting striker for Bournemouth in the Premiership, as well as Daniel James from Fulham and Brennan Johnson, who's a decent young player from Nottingham Forest. Wales are going to give the United States a lot of the ball in this game. In World Cup qualifying, Wales averaged 38% possession across their matches in the 10 games in qualifying in UEFA. That was among the lowest in the entire region, including among teams that didn't qualify, like, Faroe Islands, San Marino, Andorra. Wales were in the same metric as those guys in terms of possession, yet they still managed to qualify, in part because they didn't actually qualify through their UEFA group. They qualified through the Nations League, which put them into a playoff and like a repechaje type thing, and then they won their playoff by beating Ukraine in the end 1-0 thanks to an own goal off of a Gareth Bale free kick. So that's how they got into the World Cup. But again, they do not like to play with the ball. They will give the U.S. a lot of the ball in this game. It's just a question of what can the U.S. do with it. In the last couple matches that the U.S. has played, they've really struggled to score a lot of goals. For instance, in the 2 September matches, there were a grand total of 0 goals scored between the matches against Japan and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is really disappointing. Wales are a very good team on set pieces. That's their biggest threat. So for the U.S., who have been not very dangerous on set pieces recently, that's maybe something they'll want to work on, both defensively to restrict what Wales can do in an area they're really dangerous. They have a really tall striker in Kiefer Moore, but also to try and take advantage of the fact that Weston McKennie, Walker Zimmerman, and even Aaron Long are really good threats in the air and can really pose a difficult time for the Welsh defense on set pieces if they can do the job right. US Soccer did hire a set piece coach for this tournament who's been working with the team, but we'll have to see if that pays off, because if it doesn't, would have been a big waste of money to hire that guy. This is a possible starting 11 for the US in this opening game of the World Cup. Once again, this is a reminder, this is not necessarily what I would do personally. I would do something quite different, but this is what Greg Berhalter might do in the opening game. I think Matt Turner is a lock in goal. There's really no doubt about it. Not only does he have the #1 shirt, but the only guy who was really pushing him for the starting job, Zach Steffen, wasn't even called up. So I'm not too worried about Matt Turner losing the starting job, which he has, rightfully so, as he should. The center back pairing is an interesting point for debate. Walker Zimmerman will start, no doubt. If there was any debate about it before, there definitely is none, with Chris Richards and Miles Robinson unavailable for this World Cup due to injury. I think Aaron Long will start this game as the left center back. Not because he's necessarily the best center back in camp. He's not. But I think, given the opponent, Aaron Long is actually the best fit for this role, which is kind of weird to say because he's not really been good for the US. He has not covered himself in glory. He's had some really, really miserable outings, including both games in September. But the Welsh, as I mentioned, do pose a threat on set pieces. They're very good in the air. Even Gareth Bale, who's not super tall, can get that jump, get up there in the air, as we saw in MLS Cup, jumping over Elliott, who is 6'6", I believe. Walker Zimmerman is very good in the air, but Tim Ream, who is probably the best center back alongside Walker Zimmerman, he's not good in the air. He's good with the ball at his feet, but he's slow, which is not good for the pace of the Welsh attack. And he's not good in the air, which is not good for Kiefer Moore. So Tim Ream maybe not the best matchup here. So Aaron Long, I think, comes in just for his aerial prowess. Cameron Carter-Vickers, I'm not sure he's in the conversation to start, but, you know, stranger things have happened. As for the fullbacks, I mean, it does seem pretty obvious that it would be Dest and Robinson, because those are by far and away the best right and left back, respectively. Jedi, no doubt, will start. Dest, I could see him not starting. I'd say it's relatively unlikely at this point. I think he will, but he's definitely not going to go 90 minutes. He's not 90 minutes fit. He hasn't played 90 minutes for Milan in a while, if ever. I'm not sure. He only played 30 minutes in the past game. Basically, he's still coming back from injury, not 100% fit. And even in World Cup qualifying for the U.S., there was not a single occasion where he played all 3 games in a qualifying window. He would normally only play 2. So I think at least one game in the group stage he probably doesn't start, and there's a good chance it's this one, in which case it's really hard to tell who would start over him. Would it be DeAndre Yedlin, who does have that World Cup experience, or would it be Joe Scally, who at this moment is out and out just a better right back, is probably the second best right back the U.S. has? We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I think Dest will probably start this game, even if he's probably the first sub if that happens. Tyler Adams will start at the 6. He's been in great form for Leeds. He's going to be the captain. As I'm recording this, it's been reported that he's going to be unveiled as the captain tomorrow, which is the day this video is going to come out. So you probably already know by now that he's probably the captain. Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa will start in the MMA midfield. This is just the most effective across the board midfield for the US. McKennie coming back from injury, but it looks like he's going to be able to start the first game. Again, not 90 minutes fit most likely. He'll probably be subbed off for Brendan Aronson or maybe Gio Reyna around the 60th minute. But Weston McKennie, a huge aerial threat. I do think Berhalter will start him. Yunus Musa is a 100% must start. I know he's maybe not the best individual player, but the way the team needs to play, I think Yunus Musa 100% should start, and probably should start every game. He is an incredible player and is ready for a breakout tournament, in my opinion. As for the wingers, Pulisic will start all the games as long as he's healthy. Tim Weah, I have him going over Gio Reyna. I think that is one of the positions that's a toss-up. Again, I think it'll be Weah because He's been relied upon for the most part throughout qualifying. Gio Reyna's been in and out of the team due to injury, didn't really play much in qualifying, and also picked up an injury when he started that game in September. But Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic at the same time are also kind of roaming a little bit into the middle of the field. Tim Weah is more vertical. He stays wide. He's more a threat in some ways going forward, and he's been the US's most dangerous attacker over the last 12 months. So you can't really go wrong either way. What a problem to have that we have to bench either Tim Weah or Gio Reyna, and that doesn't even let Brendan Aronson into the conversation. There are worse problems to have than that. I think Josh Sargent will be the starting striker because he's been playing really well for Norwich, is in really good form. Best number 9 in the pool right now. I start him. I mean, there's a very good chance that Berhalter does start Jesus Ferreira, which, again, not the end of the world. He's been in terrible form, but he's here for a reason. He had a really good year in MLS. He's a really talented player. I wouldn't have brought him over Pepe just because Ferreira's form has been really poor, but he's still got talent. He's still got something there. He's a really high quality player, so we'll see if he can make something happen if he does get the start. So just to recap, this is the most likely lineup. I think the 3 positions that are up for debate are left center back, whether it's Long or Ream, Tim Weah or Gio Reyna on the right wing, and the starting striker being either Ferreira or Sargent. And pending fitness, maybe Dest doesn't start, but I find that a bit unlikely. I think if Ferreira does get the nod up top, it is kind of problematic if Reyna is also in, because Pulisic, Ferreira, and Reyna are 3 players who like to occupy the same space. Not only will they get in each other's way, but there's then no one really running in behind. They're all just kind of there in the half space, and there's not really anyone, a striker. So that would be problematic if it was Pulisic, Reyna, Ferreira, but hopefully that's not what happens and Josh Sargent gets the nod either way. My personal preference, which I've actually gone over before, is a little bit different. I'll just run through it really quickly. I would like to see a 4-2-3-1 just because I think that's what the US have played best in. That friendly against Morocco where Aronson was the 10, Pulisic was on the left, and Tim Weah was on the right. I just really want to see that again. And with Josh Sargent as the number 9 instead of Jesus Ferreira, I think this would work really well. I think you get the best out of Gio Reyna having him centrally. Yes, you have to drop McKennie. It's not ideal. You lose him on set pieces, and this team, I think, is less dangerous on set pieces than the previous one. However, at the same time, he's not 100% fit. You know you're going to have to bring him off at 60 anyway. This way you can bring Weston McKennie on for the last 30 minutes where he can be really dangerous on set pieces, especially if we're chasing a goal. And I do think, like I said, you get the best out of Gio Reyna, you get the best out of Tim Weah, you get the best out of Josh Sargent when he's combining, and most importantly, you get the best out of Tyler Adams because he's next to Yunus Musa. At Leeds, Tyler Adams has been in phenomenal form. Part of the reason for that is because of the system. He's been playing in a double pivot with Mark Roca, and Yunus Musa can be that Roca type player because Tyler Adams cannot do a lot with the ball at his feet. He is not a regista, he's not a playmaking 6, so playing him as a lone 6 doesn't play to his strengths. If you have Yunus Musa next to him, you get that advantage in the build out that Adams doesn't bring, so you really get the best out of not only Adams, but you get Yunus Musa involved on the ball more in the build out and getting the ball more forward, driving it into the attack, feeding it to Gio Reyna, who is an incredible attacking playmaker, and you've got Josh Sargent making runs in behind, which is something he's really, really good at, Tim Weah going wide, and Christian Pulisic even arriving at the back post. I think that's the best scenario here, but yeah, let me know what you think. This is what I would personally do for the starting lineup. And then really quickly here, this is the projected Welsh lineup. So it's a 3-4-3. It's going to be difficult to break down. That's not the U.S.'s strength. So I do think this will be a tricky game for tactical reasons because the U.S. has sometimes struggled against low blocks. And even though we're going to have a lot of the ball, they're going to be difficult to break down, and they're still dangerous on the counter attack. That's why I moved Gio Reyna central to get him on the ball in the attack more, just because we're going to have a lot of that possession, and Gio Reyna is going to need to pick them apart. Brandon Aronson could go into the middle as well, but I'm not sure I would start him over Gio Reyna. Not sure how to justify that. But yes, Joe Rodon, Ethan Ampadu, Ben Davies, all very good center backs. Ethan Ampadu sometimes plays as a 6. He's good on the ball. So, again, these guys are going to be tough to break down. Nico Williams, I'm sure you know him. Connor Roberts, the right wing back. Aaron Ramsey could apparently play on the wing as well, but he'll be in a double pivot here with either Joe Allen or Harry Wilson. I think if there is the MMA midfield, this gets completely overrun. This is a really old pairing. Their average age is pretty much in the 30s now. So MMA will completely dominate this midfield if this is how they line up. So that would be really good. The question is just how do you break down that final third? Gareth Bale, he's had some fitness questions in MLS. Hasn't played a whole lot since arriving in LA. Did score an MLS Cup, but, past his best. Still very good in big moments. He's still got that magic there, but is he as dangerous a player as he once was? No, and he's not going to give it for 90 minutes. But again, you can't count him out in big moments, and that's what I'm really worried about. He could just pop up with a header or a long shot or something crazy out of his hat because the talent's there. Daniel James probably going to start, or Brennan Johnson, 2 very good players either way. If either one coming off the bench as well is really dangerous. They might start Johnson and then bring James on for the pace because James is rapid and can be a real threat running in behind, going down the wing, coming off the bench. Kiefer Moore will probably start as the number 9. Like I said, very tall, great in the air, huge challenge. That's why we need to start Zimmerman and Aaron Long probably as the other one, just to counter that threat from Kiefer Moore. But look, this is a good Welsh team. They have a lot of Premier League players, some good championship players, but at the end of the day, the U.S. team is better, and we should win this game, but like I said, easier said than done. At the end of the day, it's going to just come down to who comes up in the big moments. This is a game that probably only has 1 or 2 goals in it. These are 2 teams that are relatively solid defensively, and 2 teams that have had some struggles going forward. So this could be a 1-0, 1-1, 2-1 game. I expect it to be fairly tight, but I do think that the U.S. will come out on top with that youthful energy, youthful exuberance, even without Ricardo Pepi. That youthful exuberance is still there, but I'm not going to do score predictions because I hate score predictions for my own team. And if you really want to see what my score prediction is, go back to my predictions video for the whole World Cup because I did put a number in there. But I do think this will be an interesting, tight game, and whoever wins this game has a chance of going through, but like I said, this is not the game that decides who goes through because Iran are a very, very good team and pose as big a threat as the United States to going for second place, in my opinion. So wrapping it up, let me know your thoughts on this game. Who should start? Should we bring a Juventus player off the bench? What a sentence that is. What do you think of this team? How are we going to do in this game? Let me know. What are your thoughts, concerns? But yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I don't know what the post-match coverage is going to look like. If it's going to be interviews, a video like this, I'm not really sure yet. I'll decide that when it comes, and also may depend on my mood. But yes, the game is on Fox at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, November 21st, aka my 19th birthday. But I will see you guys later.